We're going to start in about 3 minutes. Let's go through some fun miscellaneous facts. I want you to be very comfortable, and I want you to understand that this is not going to be a 300, 400 install level session. This is going to be a lot more about strategy. I've had the luck of talking to about 160 large environments, large IT environments over the past year and a half about their cloud strategy, what they've been doing and how they've been doing it. And you could say that this is the summary thought of this 160 interviews. Now, there's not that much in the market. I mean, I read about 15 books and 60 articles before I started the whole going out and speaking to people. And with all due respect to everybody out there, I didn't find much meat. I don't know, are you in the same boat? I found that it was all blah, blah, blah cloud, right? Like, buy the same sand cloud, buy the same blade cloud. Now we're calling it cloud. Is that fair? So what I did is I got a little fed up, and I guess because I could, I went and talked to a whole bunch of people who said I have a cloud. And it was very interesting. So you're going to find that this session is a third of what's happening out there, a third of what I found as best practices and how I'm summarizing them. And then I'm going to try to give you an example through, obviously, Microsoft technologies. How does this look? And then we're also going to have here a wonderful a customer of ours who was kind enough he's going to share his experience of what he's done. Now, understand, it doesn't matter what type of private cloud I put in front of you. You're going to say, well, no, mine would have been more to the left, obviously, but, still. Enough automation, enough elasticity, enough self-service, enough blah, 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 blah. I hope we agree there's some cloud attributes to it. Is that fair? So I think you're going to have a lot of fun. I just don't want you to expect this to be, I mean, I can, but I'm not going to go deep into the products because that's not what this talk is about. Is that okay? Everybody's happy with that? So you put whatever you want in the comments, just don't put it wasn't deep enough for me. Okay? Come on, I'm going to do 2-3 jokes. Just lie to me and laugh. Be nice. No, it's all good. Okay, so it's time to start. So my name is Eduardo Kastner. I'm the principal strategist or principal in the enterprise strategy group for enterprise customers, which are the large customers of Microsoft. My job is rather simple. I spend 90% of my time with good people such as you, seeing what's happening in the market, and then 10% of my time back with the product groups, aligning them to reality. Okay? So I got a lot of good time because I get to spend real time seeing agnostic, heterogeneous, complicated, hard environments such as yours. And well, I'm a hard person to talk to because if I have an opinion, it's not really mine, right? Last week I saw nine customers, 9 people, 9 IT environments, and I didn't tell you names. So I'll give you an example. Last week I was in Redmond. That's where I live. The week before that, I was in Atlanta. The week before that, I was in Netherlands. The week before that, I was in Chicago, and it goes like that. So yeah, I know. I have a lot of miles and very few family lifestyle, okay? I have with me Tiandra Turpin from our Microsoft Netherlands office. I'll tell you why he flew all the way from the Netherlands. Number one, because they know how to party better than anybody in Vegas. I'm just kidding. Tiandra is incredibly smart and humble. And that's a really strange combination. You're going to be freaked out by what an amazing private cloud environment he put together. And he's going to play it down like it was super simple. Okay? But he's going to show you in 10 minutes how this looks like. And I bet you money you're not going to see any other session. Please, there's space up front, guys. Don't be ashamed. We just started. Come on in. There's a lot of space in between. Feel comfortable. This is a conversation. So if you have a bag next to you and you see somebody standing, do me a favor. Be kind enough to put it down. There you go. There's space everywhere. And so the point is, Tiandra is going to show us how, and then Eduardo Rochal from Brazil. He is from Editorial Abril, and he's going to show us his environment, okay? So let's start. By the way, the deck is published. Everything is public. Enjoy it. If it serves you in any purpose, please use it. It's our pleasure. Okay? Let's skip the agenda because I'm going to talk about the whole agenda. And I already told you how the flow is going to work. Let's agree with the first thing. I'm not going to be nice. Okay? I'm just, period, not going to be nice to you. I'm going to ask you a question. The only thing I ask you is go like this or go like this. Is that fair? So I know you just ate, but you just have to go like, now, if you go like this and you end up going asleep, I don't care. That's fine too. Just move your head. If you have, stay with me, a well-managed, automated, virtualized, consolidated data center, is that a private cloud? Yes or no? No. No. Couple of yeses. I would say absolutely not. Why am I so strong about this opinion? I'll say this again. You can have a well-managed, consolidated, automated, and virtualized data center, and I don't think you have a private cloud. And the reason is because you don't have some of these. I'm a scary person. I actually build all my slides, so I know what it says up there. Okay? So you see what it says there? Now, 3 out of 4, 5 out of 5, I don't care what number you like. But my point is, if you're not either automated and self-serviced and some automation and maybe some elasticity, if you don't have some of that, I don't see how you have a cloud. Guys, if you stand back there, no more people can come in. So if there's chairs and you can sit down, come on in so they would let more people in. So my point is this. I'm not going to say private cloud. I'm just going to say cloud. I'm going to say if you don't have some of this attributes right here, it's going to be very hard for me to agree that you have a cloud. Because for me, or at least on what I've seen out of, like I said, 160 environments, and it's actually 172 by now, but who cares, right? Over 160. It's literally this, is I agree with the consumer, and the consumer can be a business architect, it can be an IT architect, it can be IT itself, it can be the developers. Agreed? But the consumer has to agree on the unit of consumption. Let me put it to you this way. If you have a cell phone, you have agreed on the unit of consumption, right? Your unit of consumption is minutes, okay? And you've agreed a price for your minutes. Fair? And you have no problem consuming them. You know how to pull them in, right? And at the end of the month, what happens? You know that you're going to pay for them. If you don't have something like that, you don't have a service model. Is that fair? Again? So now you see my point? If you throw a service out there, nobody knows how to consume it, nobody knows how they're going to get charged for it, and nobody knows if they want it, I'm sorry, I don't think you have a cloud. I think you have the same fantastically well-managed, respectable, honorable, beautiful, wonderful, ad hoc, or customized IT environment we've always had. Think about how your users access you today. I want blah, and then you say, okay, hold on a second, let me go design blah for you. You design it, you go back and you say, here's blah. And it costs so much. And it's one unit, it's the whole thing, intranet, ERP, asset management, right? It's like, I'm gonna charge you this much for the whole thing. And I wanna break it into pieces. Yeah, it's not that easy. So I'm not making fun of it, I'm just trying to tell you, IT as a service starts with a unit of consumption. So that's the first thought I want to make very clear to you. If whoever you're building this for has no clarity as to what the IT unit of consumption is, you have a big problem with IT as a service. Is that fair? Okay. So if I press this magical button, let's say you get your way, and your way is I want a private cloud, I want a public cloud, I want a hybrid cloud, whichever, right? I hope that you get to a point where somebody does an action and you give them something. Fair? So this action is going to be called, press a button right now for us. So if I press a button, I want to ask you a question. How many of you, and don't be shy, please, see, this is the time to feel good and proud about what you've done. How many of you would say that you have today a private cloud? Okay. So those of you, okay, that don't, or those of you that do, think about it this way. Which type of service are you providing? I'm going to give you 5 options. It doesn't have to be within this 5, but it's a good way to start matching them. Option number 1, I'm going to be talking about, for all the options, I'm going to be talking about the whole stack. Because if you notice, some virtualization providers, what do they say to you? They say, I'm going to give you virtualization, OS, and data, right? That's it. And some networking providers say, I'm going to give you storage and networking. And if I sell air conditioning and power, maybe some facilities and maybe some network, right? But it's pieces of the stack. I want to talk about the whole stack. Is that fair? I want to talk from facilities, network, storage, hardware, virtualization, OS, data, application, front end, and access. Everything. So when I press this magical button, right, and I'm your user, what do I get? Do I get an empty hardware or empty VM? Empty VM means no pre-configured OS for the workload I need it for. Am I speaking too fast? Is this good? I know there's a lot of international. I'm from Mexico originally, so I don't know how I got to speak English this fast, but you understand. So I'm respectful. So if I go too fast, you stop me. I get excited. The next step is, no, you get a virtual machine, one, okay? So far we're in the realm of one virtual machine per button press, but this one is pre-configured for the OS or for the workload that I needed. So in dev test environment, this would be I get a pre-configured database with some, now you understand. But it's one machine. Next step would be I press a button and I get a whole application stack. This could be 15 servers, this could be 220 servers in a pre-configured, prefabricated, and automated virtual environment. I want you to understand that between step 2 and step 3, there's a huge change. Step 2 is orchestration, maybe some fancy automation. Step 3 is absolutely orchestration. Is that fair? I get a whole architecture when I deploy this. This is not going to be a simple thing. This is going to be adding to our ERP environment and actually putting it in production with full backup or disaster recovery or high availability or continuity capabilities, with full asset management, with full configuration management, etc. So I can go on, right? And then step 4 would be type Hotmail, right? I create a login and that's it. Get a full service. Now understand, the more I move towards my right here, this is what the business wants. That gives you business agility. Is that fair? The more I move towards that side, towards the left, I get IT efficiency. What's the difference between IT efficiency and business agility? IT efficiency is made to reduce costs. So if I would be a trucking company, I love analogies. I'm sorry, it's one of my defects. If I would be a trucking company, IT efficiency is how do I consume gas better, right? How do I lower my cost in gas, which may be my biggest expense? But if I'm thinking business agility, it's how do I buy more trucks and service new routes to make more money? In other words, I want you to understand that every case I saw for IT efficiency, people were trying to do things faster, cheaper, or better. Not and, or, okay? But every guy that I talked to on business agility said, I'm going to put more money into this because I want to make more money. So this is an investment. This is not going to be TCO. This is not going to be a play to reduce anything. This is going to be a play to make more money, okay? Now, IT exists for one simple reason. And think of an airline. An airline can sell 1,000 tickets with paper or 1,000,000 tickets with IT. Is that fair? So understand, we're here to make things more efficient, not to be cheaper. Cheaper would be don't buy one more anything, okay? So we're here to be more efficient, make things more efficient. So with that said, guys, there's still some seats. There's a whole row almost empty here. So if everybody's brave enough, just come on up. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's all good. So now let's talk about mobility, because this is going to be a more important theme as we start feeling comfortable. And think about what I'm saying, because I mean it with all my heart. As we start feeling more comfortable with using public clouds and hybrid clouds, there's going to be more and more a conversation on moving virtual machines or full environments from one environment to the other. Is that fair? And so workload mobility should be a big part of your conversation as how you get ready and prepared for this. So if your application, if your service is completely tied in all the way to the storage, then there's a dumb joke for you. No mobility for you. Is that fair? But if you have it at the, I know the colors don't help me, I apologize for that. But if you have virtualization, then all you can do is virtual machine mobility, right? You can move it from one data center to another, and all you get is VM mobility. Now, I know this is super simple for you, don't think I'm talking so dumb. Let me raise it up a notch. What happens when you now decouple the processing and the data? In other words, you start thinking of stored procedures and databases, you start thinking about blobs and workers. What happens when you start rewriting your app? So I went that from the first two moves, you're subsidizing the application via infrastructure, which we're so used to that we don't even get mad at this anymore. We don't even realize what we're doing anymore. You're subsidizing your applications for everything. Think about it. Continuity, right? You don't have continuity, you have high availability. Resource management, very few people have that. Performance management, right? Capacity management like a unicorn. I think somebody saw it back in the 80s and then nobody else saw it again. You know, it's like single sign-on. I think I know a friend of a friend of a friend who actually achieved it, but he was fired. You know? So it's the same kind of myths that nobody has. So my point to you here is, what happens when you actually take this to the cloud? Well, now you're going to have workload mobility, but the interesting thing is if I can actually scale this per application request, per need, if I can burst out, whether it be within the same cloud, public to public, or whether it be private to public, then what I get is service management. So what I'm trying to tell you is be careful, because this realm is not the realm of infrastructure forever. This realm moves 1-2 clicks, and then it turns into application rewrite. Is that fair? Okay. So let's understand what's happening out there in a very humble, simple, one slide, super heavy way, okay? I know my text is like -6. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you everything that goes on in the slide. Number one, remember, I broke the same stack, okay? So I just broke it down. Let's start with facilities. There's a couple of people that came up to me and they said, you know what? I want to buy modular power, cooling, and location. Who are those people? Anybody who has a data center in New York and wanted to fail over to New Jersey in the middle of Sandy. Nobody remembers the storm Sandy? It just happened. My sister lived a couple miles from that thing. Man, she couldn't get out of the house for 2 weeks. Talk about trying to get to work, okay? So my point is, failing over from New York to New Jersey, guess what? Not a good idea anymore. We got to stop doing that. So that's a great thing that just started sparking some new thoughts. Other people are saying, no, you know what? It's all about the cost of the megawatt. So reducing the cost of megawatt, meaning let's take our data center to the generation sources, to where electricity is being generated. Some of you may go like this, some of you may be like, this is boring to me. Others of you are getting tasked to review this. So understand, maybe it's not your case, but I want you to see what's happening all across. Then, what happens is what you're going to buy is an IT pack or a pod. But be careful, buying an IT pack or a pod is buying 3,000 servers, 2,000 servers, 1,000 servers per pop. So you're buying full data centers every time you wink. So not everybody can play this game. It's not applicable to everybody. It's not a workload thing. This is expensive, but it gives you huge benefits on CapEx and OpEx, okay? But this is one way of thinking about it. So some people are saying, if I change my house, I become a thinner person. No, you just live in a more lean house, a greener house, better energy efficient house, okay? Second, well, how have I changed my hardware, right? If I update to blades and to better storage and to more modular and better standards, right? Or better supporting capabilities, well, you can do that, and that's going to give you, whether it be components or appliances, but I'm going to tell you something. Every single example we've seen of this gives you about 30% better TCO. In other words, let me speak in plain Spanish for you. If you're more efficient, you get lower TCO. It's not the other way around, okay? Let me say it like this. You go to the gym, you get thinner. It's not you get thinner and then you go to the gym. Okay, so TCO is always going to be, your total cost of ownership is always going to get reduced because you're doing things better. And the only way to do things better is to actually practice something so that it becomes a best practice. And I'm sorry to tell you, I never said purchase. So if you think I'm not being offensive, you're wrong. I'm being very offensive. I'm trying to make fun of everything we've done in the last 20 years, which means, what's our strategy? We're going to buy something new. Well, I got 3 bicycles, so I'm still fat. Because you know what? Buying bicycles doesn't make me thinner. I'm actually going to the gym. I got to stop going to the gym so I can keep using this example. It's a great example, I'm telling you. That's my excuse. So, the problem here is those people that got a bicycle but started using it, so in other words, they got blade system, they got a new NAS, they got whatever, but they started cleaning up their configuration management system. They started cleaning up their legacy. They started cataloging a little bit their data. They started doing the right practices, got this 30% better efficiency, therefore TCO. But then something magical happens. Virtualization comes along, people get super excited, and they say, I'm going to get better TCO. No, you get better TCO once, because you consolidate once. And then somebody in your organization, I'm not going to point fingers because you're all here, goes like this on the button, right? And that starts doing virtualization sprawl. And now you had 2 servers, but 1,000 little mushrooms going all over the place. Right? God forbid you manage those. And then what happens is all you get is faster deployment. Is that fair? So no more TCO, but faster deployment, better utilization. And then you get to a very interesting point. And everything that I was going to say there, it's a handful. It says 3 things if you want me to just summarize it. Number 1, it says you're going to do things in an integrated way. Let me explain this very simply. I'm not going to ask any of you to be victims on this one. Let's say I have this software from vendor A to do backup, and this one from vendor E to do configuration management, and this one from vendor C to do monitoring, and this one from vendor F to do ticketing, right? Am I doing good so far? And then this one from F because I want to do some orchestration. And then this one from G, networking, storage, I can go on and on and on. And you know what happens? Please raise your hand. Who do you think, I'm talking about you, I'm looking at all of you, who do you think is the orchestration engine? Now you understand? You guys are the orchestration engine. No other software does that. Because all those guys, even us, we don't get together and sit down at a table and say, how do I make his life easier? No, we don't. I'm sorry, it's a shame for me to say that. Some of us do a little bit nicer job, but we don't go all the way, okay? So the reality and the problem in the market is the orchestration engine ends up being you. So what's the point here? Well, if I could reduce 2, try to be humble here, just 2 or 3 of those, and make them integrate a little bit better, and you would need, instead of 5 skill sets, 2 skill sets, then what happens is you actually get an integrated management of those capabilities. And with an integrated management, and I'll explain it through the demo, so if you think we're not going to go technical, we are. But if I just don't have to redeclare the private cloud template for service A in the configuration management system, in the monitoring system, in the ticketing system, and you see my point? In the orchestrations, if I don't have to redeclare it 17 times, I save you time, effort, and money. Not only that, I make you more efficient, which in turn makes you another 30% better. So instead of you paying $3,000 per server, this is according to a study we did in 2010, instead of $3,000 a server per year on labor only, I'm talking labor only, okay, on average, it goes down to 1,000. That's huge, huge. Is this still interesting? Good stuff. So, which is your private cloud project? And I'm asking you because now you got to think about this. Now you got to realize, okay, where do I want mine to reside, right? Am I going to build a private cloud at the bottom? Am I going to be doing a electricity consumption? Am I going to go all the way to the top? This is not by degrees of difficulty. They're all complicated, okay? Just in case you want to know, all of them are complicated. None of them make anybody go away. So like this guy, this kind gentleman who said, IT is hard and it's complicated, and that's why we all have jobs. Absolutely right. They're all complicated, they're all hard, okay? But understand, different projects give you different benefits. Is that fair? So, let's keep trucking along. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this slide because it's gotten me into so much trouble. Okay, every time I report, this is what I found, everybody's like, no, that's not me, right? Well, I bet you money it's half of you at least, but enough saying it. Let me just tell you what I found, and if you disagree with me, it's all good. I have no problem. The only problem I have is I have 160 names that told me all of this, so I didn't make it up. First, I asked people, why are you doing a private cloud or a cloud at all? And 80% said, because I want to optimize my infrastructure, because it's legacy. About 20%, well, 15 said, I want to optimize my applications. And about 2% said, 3%, which is close to 5 on average is fine, but it's about 3 on the latest. They said, no, I want the power stuff, right? The power and the electricity. Fine. When I asked them, what benefits do you expect to get if you do this project? And don't get me wrong, if you're not reading this slide right, you're not getting what I'm recommending to you. I'm asking you, don't start a project like this until you define, number one, why you're doing it and what's the desired outcome. Now you see my point? Because you don't do this, it's going to be super hard to justify the level of investment that you need. So here people said 80% IT efficiency, about 18% business agility, and 2% cost reduction. But what was very interesting is I asked the people on IT efficiency, when you're done with the efficiency, do you expect cost benefits? 80% said yes. But they said it correctly. They said after I mature into them, right? So it's not when I buy the bicycle, but after I use it for a year or two, I expect that. That's exactly the right way. But now the problem is when I asked, what phase of the project are you in? I'm sorry to report that 60% said I'm in design phase still. And look, we've been talking about this for a year, 2 years, so it's kind of slow. The other thing I found out is that 25% said I'm architecting, but only 2% said I am proud. I love this. I highly recommend this work to you. I'm proud of the private cloud or public cloud that I deployed. And this proud word is actually pretty useful. You see, are you proud about it? They're like, you reduce the number even more. Okay, because many people say I have one, but it's not quite there. Then do you really have it, right? But what was very interesting is that the last question that I asked was even the one that made me the most enemies. I said, how are you going to measure success? Again, you think I'm joking. No, if you don't have this, I can't guarantee you're going to fail. I'm not that fatalistic, but I'm going to tell you, you have a good probability of not knowing that you succeeded. It's not the same thing. I asked, how are you going to measure success? How are you going to know that you actually got there? And I'm going to spend a little bit on this. Only 10% told me we're making different KPIs to measure success. So we're making different KPIs for this new, let's say, private cloud world. Why private cloud? Why do I keep going back to it? Because it's what's being deployed the most today. Okay? And so what we saw was mean time to deploy, mean time to recover. Everybody knows what an IT FTE is. IT full-time equivalent, right? So I don't care if it's outsourced or insourced, okay? That's why it's IT FTE. Because if I would have said resource, you would have, or person, you would have said, oh, but I'm outsourced. No, IT FTE just counts heads, right? In previous lives, I would say I'm an ex-outsourcer. It says counts warm bodies, right? So you just want to know how many people you have assigned to do something. And that's what IT FTE is. But why is it brilliant? Because if you're measuring IT FTE per server, you can get then to a quality metric, which is per workload. Listen to this. Are you going to have the same amount of administrators per server on a database environment than on a DNS environment? Heck no, right? Absolutely not. On a database, you want to oscillate between 8 to 18. I'm telling you actual numbers, by the way. So you see, you don't mind if you're between 8 and 18 because depending on your complexity, it could be okay. But if you go below 8, well, the guy's not doing enough. And if you go above 18, you don't have enough time to do the right things. Versus on a DNS environment, you're talking about an environment where you go from 300 to 500. So between 300 and 500 servers managed per IT FTE, you're on the right level. Did you listen to the differences? 8 to 18 to 300 to 500, it's massive. So it's very important that you start thinking workload and you stop thinking generic. Okay? So with that said, let's move on. Are we doing good? The pace is good? So now I'm going to tell you just in a very simple summary in a very small font slide, and I apologize again. I have this dyslexia to put fonts to be too small for my presentations. But this is going to be the summary of what I found as best practices. The first thing we found is for people who are defining is you have to start with a standard. The standard has to go from configuration management and up. Don't minimize and don't simplify my words. 90% of people don't start here, and that's why they fail. Because they didn't start thinking of configuration management. And configuration management is not hardware, and it's not OS, okay? You're dead wrong if you're thinking that way. It is, stay with me, the configuration of the hardware, the OS, the application, how you back it up, how you recover it, how you monitor it, how you do asset or configuration or update on it, how you do maintenance of the application, how you do archiving of the data, how you do the release of the software, the hardware, or etc., the VM environment once you release it. In other words, how you recuperate. That is configuration management. It's the whole life cycle management of that app, okay? And unless you can draw down that into a standard, now stay with me, you're not going to be able to do it. Let me tell you why. If I can't standardize what you want me to automate, how am I going to automate it? What am I going to automate? Step A, B, C, then call Eduardo, cross fingers, then D, E, F, call Tiander, cross fingers again, wait 10 minutes, turn blue, then go back, call Eduardo again. You can't do that. And I'm making fun of it, but I'm trying to tell you, you cannot automate this, and therefore you don't have a private cloud, because I press a button, and I don't know if I'm doing anything different than I'm doing today. So I'm just not changing the title. I'm just saying that's a very well-managed, wonderful, beautiful data center, okay? I didn't criticize it. I'm just saying not a private cloud. So you need to understand what your unit of cost is and how you're going to measure it. How you're going to do continuous monitoring of this service, not device, not app. How you're going to do architecture above the infrastructure layer and seek integration. And the best thing that I've seen is people start with something. They don't tend, this is super good advice. I'm dead serious. Don't boil the ocean. You're maximum going to raise it 2 degrees. I don't care how much money you got. Is that fair? Choose a small piece of it, boil it up, and do something there. Prove some success and go on. Get another small piece. People who do this actually get somewhere. If you try to do it for everything at once, God bless you. You're going to raise the temperature 2 degrees. It's not going to be enough for anybody. Okay? By the way, that was Fahrenheit and Celsius. It makes no difference. And so in that sense, you got to go on and you say, okay, I'm going to build an application catalog. Now this is super hard, so my best advice to you is build something. I don't care if you build an application catalog for your top 10 or for your top 15 and you stop there, but do something, because if you don't start here, you cannot build what your service is going to look like. Because you know what? Your users want to consume services, right? And services today are called what? Applications, right? So now you see my point. If you don't have this application catalog, you don't have a service catalog to provide, to offer. And then the next step is simple. Deploy it into standard environments, define the service definitions, provide the service catalog, so that you can then determine if you're going to grab these legacy apps and you're going to renew them, as in recoding, replatforming, or whether you're just going to rehost them. Is that fair? Well, this is just best practices we've seen from people who've achieved it. Okay, now, let me give you a couple of ideas, simple, for what's your journey. So what we've seen and how we can help you, so this is a combination, is first you define what got you here, right? Why are you interested? Well, I'm interested because I have a ton of data, right? Or because I want to do some customization or some cloud computing. Okay, that's fine. Now, what are your KPIs? How are you going to know, how are you going to measure your success? Well, I select a couple and others I don't care about. God bless you. Next step is, what size is this dinosaur? Look, this is the question nobody wants to ask. What size is what's the diagnostic, right? What's the x-ray? I got to take an x-ray of this patient before I tell him you got to take medicine A or medicine B. And we always say where you're going to go, but we never check where you're at. Is that fair? So you have to do an assessment and understand, I'm going to be super mean to you right now, but I mean every word I say. If you have a mess in your identity system and you cannot do federation, no cloud for you. Is that clear? No, you didn't laugh. Let me do another one. Let's see if I make you laugh on this one, okay? That was sarcasm at its best, you know? Look, you can't get to pin down the configuration of your servers, right? No cloud for you. You see my point? There's a couple of things that you don't get your act together, no cloud for you. Doesn't matter how cool we build our systems, how cool we build our tools. If you can't get to standardize, it's super hard to automate any of this. And the underlying word here is always automate. So the point is simple. You have to measure the size of what you do well, what you do you know, más o menos in Spanish, and what you do really, really bad. And you got to fix it, even if it's dinosaurs that nobody wants to go at them, right? And then the next step is understand that you don't need all the cloud attributes in the universe. Let me go back into this. How many people here say, I absolutely could not operate if I don't have a private cloud that's multi-tenant? Don't raise your hands. Don't raise. I'm giving you ample warning. I'm going to smack it in a second. Don't raise. You know why I'm saying that? Because right now you're not multi-tenant, okay? So if you couldn't operate without multi-tenancy, right now you're not multi-tenant. So God bless you. Stop thinking that you gotta be multi-tenant. And if you have to be multi-tenant, to what degree? Because being multi-tenant is like buying a boat in the middle of the country with no lakes. I'm sure you can buy it, but why the hell would you keep it? Now you see my point? Super expensive to operate. It's not expensive to purchase. It's super crazy, dumb, expensive to operate if you don't need it. So be careful. Don't go get access anywhere if you don't need it. Don't go get chargeback if you don't need it. Let me tell you a cool story about chargeback, right? Chargeback means finance, God forbid, doesn't give you money at all. They just don't give you money anymore. And you go charge every single business unit for every service you give them. God forbid you be in one of these situations. I was an outsourcer for 9 years. You do not want, this like a curse in IT. May you go charge back to everybody you know. Because you know what? You're going to find out how much those people don't like you. Okay? And then it's going to hurt. And then you're going to find out that they want to get rid of you. They want to turn you into an insourcer. Yes, take those people out of this company. Put them in another one. And now let's treat them as vendors. You see the fun in this? So most of you want to do showback. I'm not putting words into your mouth. But showback is I mock, it's like I get money from finance, but I mock bill you, you mock pay me, and we mock pretend we're friends. It sort of works, man. So chargeback, you see, there you go. So chargeback is not necessarily what everybody wants. Showback is what most people say, I feel good. And then some people say, you know what, my CEO says that it's passing money from one pocket to the other, right? So he doesn't care for chargeback, but I want resource utilization. God bless you, do that. My point to you is don't go hard case because the industry is saying A or B. Do what's really useful. I know you understand this, but I'm trying to say here, go after only the ones you need. Don't go after everything. Okay, so with this said, we did a ton of analysis. We actually, I'm not going to tell you which analyst is who here, but as you can see, nobody agrees with anybody, okay? And so we said, what is a cloud? So we came up and we literally grabbed 30 of our brightest and smartest and then talked to 100 partners and 100 customers and came up with this 15 attributes. You can scan them really easy. I mean, trust me, this is brilliant work for one reason. We put 100 people and we said, are we missing anything? And they said no. I draw a challenge to you, kind ladies and gentlemen, right now. I throw the gauntlet on the floor. Tell me we're missing something. I would love to. And I'm not doing this egotistically. I would love to. I actually mean it in the most humble way. I'd be honored if we missed something and you call it out on us, okay? But I think we covered it all. We showed it to Gartner. We showed it to Forrester. They loved it. They loved it. So with that said, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that each service only requires a subset of the cloud attributes. Is this fair? And not every service has to reside in your data center. Is that fair too? Some services could reside in different types of clouds. But what's the beauty of this? That because we had a model, which I'm sure, or I hope you've heard me or somebody else talk about it before, which is the infrastructure optimization model. It's a maturity model that we built 8 years ago. We can assess this to a level of detail nobody else can. Let me show you. This means I can grab example continuity and say, well, in order for you to have continuity, you need to have some prerequisites. Stay with me. If there's a couple of parts in this presentation that I hope to blow your brains away and for you to say, wow, this is one of them. Give me a second. I got to go a little faster. Please, if possible, please, let's take questions to the end, unless they're super fast. Go. IT, no. Well, governance would be, you're right. It's service management. That's where governance would be. The question was, where's governance? Okay, so what we did with continuity is we said, what do you need to have continuity, right? I mean, what would be the specific capabilities, not products, not specs, not functions, capabilities in order to have continuity? So the model that I'm talking about is optimization. You can find a ton of it in Microsoft.com/optimization. It's a 7 years success, 15,000 IT environments analyzed, but it basically has 4 levels. I'm not going to go into this. Basic is unstructured, standardized is structured, rationalized is pretty optimal, and dynamic is Star Trek, Star Wars, almost nobody's there, okay? So I'm showing you that so that when I show you these letters here, you don't freak out. You're like, what is BSRD? Basic, standardized, rationalized, dynamic, okay? Now don't read this. Let me read it for you. I know half of you are already halfway through the slide. Let me read this for you. Look, in order for you to have continuity, would it make sense to, stay with me, would it make sense to have Resource capacity management and consolidation, at least at the standardized level. Yes or no? This is the chance where all you go yes. You just totally missed it. Service monitoring and control? Yes. High availability? Yes. Service OS protection? Yes. DNS availability? You see my point? You don't have all that, and you don't have continuity. Is that fair? So we've done a lot of pre-layering and pre-thought about this. This is super cool. So what's the result of this? Time for a demo, if the internet gods are good to us. I'm going to go extremely fast. Microsoft.com/optimization. Microsoft.com/optimization. And here we go. You go in here, and you see this big click here to start. Guess what? And then you see here the video of what I'm going to show you, and this begin your journey. And I know all of you have a Hotmail or Live account, right? Time to lie to me again. You can say yes. And you sign in with your Live account. I hope you have one, and if not, this is a great time to go get one. Yeah, fine. Text. No, don't text me. Yeah, just text me, fine. You gotta be kidding me. Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. I know, this is like what? Wow, it's never happened to me before, but that was obvious, right? I got a better, okay, just text me, yes. I gotta wait for my cell phone to, okay, I'll come back to this. You know what? Hold on, send me an email to my Yahoo account. Fine. Okay. I guess I'll come back to this. That's sad for you. Don't laugh, no demo for you. I've seen it 1,000 times. Let me tell you what you would have seen if the demo gods wouldn't have killed me again. That's the dumbest demo I've ever done. Just go to the net. You go in, I know, it's like, what? No, I hope I did. And now I got to turn on my phone. Oh, wait, I got the code. That was pretty cool. This is going to end up being a cool demo if I don't mess it up again. Yes. Next, security code. The security code is, come on. Yeah, there you go. 43895. You guys all got that? 43895. There you go. What? What is this? I know. Really? Is that the one? Which one do you like? You gotta be kidding me. Yeah, I didn't get the code. I got a new one. I can't believe this, man. This is so bad. Oh, that was not the code. 2178383. I know the comments on this session is going to be the user was really dumb. Okay, now that we're here. Thank you for making fun of the speaker. You kind and very humble audience. Duh. Here, so you can create an account. Now, when I say account, can be anything. Can be a subset of your IT, can be a region, can be an aspect, I don't care. Okay? We don't get a copy of what you put here. We just know how many people log in. So that's all. So you can log in as whomever, right? Donald Duck, whatever you want, and just put whatever data. This is all confidential to you. So you go in here, and I'm going to show you one that's pre-existing, and you assess yourself. When I say you do the X-ray, this is what I mean, okay? You do the assessment. You could do just for core infrastructure. You could do it for business productivity, application development. I'm just going to focus on data center. Let me show you the first one, data center management and virtualization. So you see the first question that this asks, which is 80 questions. So it's not a killer, it's a good afternoon, okay? Let me show you. First question is, what best describes your software and configuration library maintenance strategy, okay? So I say, I don't have a software library. I do have a software library. It's automated. I'm simplifying it for you. It's governed and with compliance auditing, unknown. So let's say I have one, but it's not automated, and I would like to have it be automated. Well, you do your 80 questions like this, You see the next section would be, as an example, a server security, would best describe your server operating system protections, etc., right? You answer all this, and once you got the x-ray, this is your self-assessment. No certification, no medals, no nothing. Your self-assessment for you. Once you do that, look what I can do here. You see this cloud analysis? Be ready to be blown away. By the way, this is the work of a friend of mine called Yoav Lan, who's incredible. He's here in the conference. I don't think he's here in the session. He was doing another one. If you see this guy, Yoav Land, you congratulate him. This is incredible work. I mean, I helped him do all this, but this is his credit. Now, you can start wherever you want. I'm going to slow down for a second, even if it takes me a little bit longer on the whole time. You can start wherever you want. I'm going to show you 5 steps, but understand, you can skip any step and start at one later, okay? So look, this is the part where I'm showing you how to build a strategy. We're going to see the products in a minute. Be patient. The strategy is why get the products first. So look, the first thing is I'm going to ask you, and this is very, very important, which applications, which services do you want to take to the cloud? Is that fair? Should that be the first question? So which? So in this case, out of that catalog over there, I picked a couple. I picked call center and dashboards and email and messaging and portals and social computing, okay? This catalog is not the most comprehensive in the world. It's a good catalog, and I'm sure you're going to say, well, I missed 1 or 2. Check it out before you dismiss it. Try it before you say no. Once you select this, you go to next, and you say, okay, once I've selected what I want to take to the cloud, what's the next step? Why do you want to take it there? What are you going to get out of it, right? So here I answered elastic OpEx, in other words, pay per use. Is that fair? The next one is rapid prototyping, and the last one is a custom one. So I can go in and say, I want to build a custom scenario, which is going to be enhance my claims application. Remember, this is an insurance company, and you see what I did? I selected attributes for that. That's all I did. Once I do that, the next one is, it gives me a recommendation. And let's say I want access anywhere. So once I agree with the recommendation of attributes, it tells me, why wouldn't you not do this? What are the constraints? And the constraints are simple. You know what? I'm an insurance company. I need to be compliant. I need to be private. I need to be secure, right? And I'm also afraid of one simple thing. I'm afraid of cloud sprawl. I'm afraid of this, the cost going crazy, right? So good, that's my constraints. Based on that, let me show you this. I can give you a recommendation. You are X steps away from a private cloud, X steps away from a public cloud, from a SaaS, from a PaaS. Why is this incredibly useful? Because with all due respect to you, I just told you you're 17, 18 steps away from a private cloud, and I already showed you the projects. Even if this is wrong, this is 70% of the work that you would have to do. It's 70% of what you don't have today. This is free. This was a multi-million-dollar investment. You don't have to make it. It's all free. You just go out there, get a Hotmail account, log in. Use the Hotmail account. Okay? You see 19 steps away. And look, if I look at them, it gives me pros and cons for each architecture. This would be for private cloud. It gives me the steps that I'm away. Let me show you the first one because you're going to recognize it. You see this? You pick portals. By that, you selected resource management. In order for you to have resource management in a private cloud, you need to be in rationalized. But when you answered your analysis, your X-ray, remember, you said you were in standardized for software and configuration library maintenance. Therefore, your first project is move it from step A to step B. Is this cool or no? Is this useful? You guys hating it? So once you do this, I can give you see here? It asks me a couple of data, so we can do a simple ROI. It's not a simple ROI, it's actually a Forrester certified TEI analysis, but it gives me the documents of the steps in PowerPoint and in Word. It generates a Microsoft project file with all the projects you're going to need. Wow. No excitement, nothing? And it gives me a Visio diagram of the architecture with Microsoft products. This is the only thing that's not agnostic. I don't get it. Everything else is agnostic. A full Visio automatically generated. You didn't get automagically? Generated Visio diagram. Nothing? No. Nada? Let's take a look at. There's always a skeptic in the audience. I don't know if Visio is configured in this. I'll put download, and when it comes up, okay? So let's continue. If it comes up, because I don't know if Visio is installed on this machine. But now, play with it. Look, this is free. Play with it, right? Don't believe me. Go play with it. So let's just finish. Steps to build a private cloud. Let's summarize, and then we go to the demo, and then we go to the story. Look, number one, extreme standardization. You don't do extreme standardization, no cloud for you. Is that fair? Extreme standardization. Second, baselining. Baselining is not monitoring. This is you monitoring, you creating a history, and somebody coming in at least once a month, twice a month, analyzing statistically all the failures, opportunities, hiccups, anything that happened, so that you can determine what is worthwhile to automate. Let me explain it differently. My friend over here, I give him, he's the best guy we got. I'm going to raise your expectation. You have no idea. He's the best guy we have. He's the brightest. I give him an automation engine like PowerShell. I train him. I give him everything, update everything, wonderful. I give him orchestrator. He can do everything in the world he wants. What do you think he's going to automate? Whatever troubles his day. Is he going to do the best for the processes? I don't know if he knows what's the best for the processes completely. You see what I'm saying? It's a big mouthful. But if I do baselining, I feed him. You see what I'm saying? I tell him, hey, you know what? We got to automate these 3 processes. And then I can focus him where I want him to focus. So my point to you is baselining. It's not a new tool. It's not a new report. It's just doing statistical analysis on your monitoring results for the month. Once you do that, you can get into SLA architecture. In other words, if your infrastructure can do 2 nines, please stop lying and don't say that you can do 5. I know it was nice. And you know what? I know you weren't lying, but everybody else was. Because we all say, oh, we have 9 nines. And we all do at best 3 nines. So minutes per year. Is that safe? Okay, lie to me. And then we have pre-process engineering. This is old school. You see, I have a really big loss of hair. That's because I lost my hair with mainframes back in the 90s, early 90s. And I'll tell you something. We forgot what pre-production means, which means you test your stuff before you throw it out into the data center. If we don't do that, we're going to get into massive trouble in this new environments. Because you know what? He goes out, he does a process, then I got another person here who does another process, and he automates another process, and the 3 of them conflict to each other, but because we never tested them in pre-production, we never found out. We throw into production, and no single one of them can fix it. You see my point? Because it wasn't a situation that was created by one bright individual. It was created by the combination of the 19 persons that are cooking this meal for you. Too many hands on the meal. You see my point? Too many hands on the motor. Okay? That's too many cooks in the kitchen. As many analogies as I need. Okay, last is automation, service lifecycle, and self-service. So, how can we help you? It's simple. Like you saw in the keynote, we're drawing from all our experience in public cloud. We're infusing all this back into the 3 products. And I'm just going to do this in 2 seconds, and then ask T-Ander to come back up and show you how this looks. It's super simple. We started with Hyper-V and Windows Server for one reason. Because we're thinking that with one OS you can have mobility. Because you don't have to re-platform anything once you put it on Hyper-V. You don't have to convert it into anybody's standard. You can grab it, right? Or VMware in Windows. Or you grab it and use it. The difference between us and the other guys that I just mentioned, that I shouldn't have, but I just did, is very simple. There's no versions here, right? Standard version, free version, and data center version do not cap you at the knees on any functionality in us. We don't stop you at using anything. Everything you see, you get. The only difference is data center, unlimited VMs. Standard, 2 VMs. So standard is meant for physical, data center for virtual environments. That's it. But you're not like, oh, I need the plus version for this and that. No, you get everything. So you don't get a lack of using the console. The console is for everything. You don't need to buy a special license to replicate across environments. We detect the bandwidth of the throughput, so you can do this in branch scenarios. It's brilliant. Look at Hyper-V Replica. Brilliant. You can do storage pools to manage and have stuff like thin provisioning, right? Not depending one on the other, but mutually beneficial. Thin provisioning without having a SAN. Things that are extremely beneficial. And then you can have management with PowerShell across the whole stack. We went from 240 commandlets on Windows Server 2008 R2 to 2,400 commandlets. Okay? That's 100x growth. It's huge. Why? Because we want to give you the capability to manage all the way from the infrastructure all the way to your app. Now, if I go back up, why did we put System Center as a single SKU? Because before you would be competing, you would say, I already have a backup, I already have a this, I already have a that, I just want this one. And you would never see the integration story. Now buying it as a whole product, all system center, you can test it. And you can say, you know what, for the Windows environment or for this other environment, it gives me a huge benefit that it's integrated. Not disintegrated, that it is, integrated. And you're gonna see it in a second. And then, if you wanna do this as a hoster for your environments, what do you need? Windows Server System Center. If you want to take this to Azure, what do you need? Windows Server System Center. If you want to use it in a private or virtual environment, or physical, God forbid, because most of you still have something like that, you just need Windows Server System Center. The whole point was not to overcharge you and not to go crazy on you, but actually to make it simple for you to consume on any of your infrastructures and for it to be the simple pane of screen that you could manage this. So, with that said, let me pass it over. Well, I was going to say the same thing, right? We can give you, for all these, look, it's the same thing. Wherever you're looking at the stack, what we're building is IT Packs Fast Track to be certified for Hyper-V Windows Server and System Center. So it's the same thing I just said. Let me move faster and now pass it to Mr. Tiander. Dear sir.
Good afternoon, my name is Tiander. I'm originated from the Netherlands. I'm a technology specialist, and with the following demo, I'm going to demonstrate how today, this is available today, how you can transform your data center into a private cloud utilizing Windows Server 2012 and System Center 2012 SP1. So this is available today. You can do exactly the same things I'm going to show you. So let me introduce the scenario which I'm going to show you. We got a lot of moving parts, so I'm going to introduce the scenario to you. So what you're seeing now is a typical architecture slide of a data center. This is the typical data center, compute scale units, so compute fabric, so compute network and storage, so the fabric pieces. So I'm actually going to fulfill two different roles today. So I'm going to play the role of the application owner, so someone who is going to request a business service, and I'm going to fulfill a role of the data center administrator. So with system-centered technology, we're going to utilize and control and manage the fabric resources in the data center. Virtual Machine Manager is capable of controlling that fabric resources and can carve out specific capacity, which we call clouds. And I would like to always simplify what we are doing here. So a cloud is a pool of resources, capacity. So what we're actually going to do in this demo is to deploy a service to the finance cloud, which has been delegated to specific user roles and have some resources allocated to different compute scale units in the data center. So what I'm going to show you shortly is that we can define a service, an application or a business service. We can define that within Virtual Machine Manager, and that will act as a template and which we are able to deploy multiple times under different conditions. So first of all, let me show you how it looks under the covers. So this is Virtual Machine Manager 2012 SP1, and as you can see here, I have my fabric defined on the left-hand side. I currently have two physical hosts, I have networking defined, and of course I have also storage defined in here. What I also have is my VMs and services, and this will actually summarize my clouds which I've carved out. So you can see that I've got a number of clouds defined in my environment, and also you can see that we have capacity allocated to that specific cloud. So this is actually basically what's available for the users of that cloud. So I have delegation on control to my finance users over here, and they can utilize the resources within that cloud. So to show you the definition, we can switch over to the library section, and within the library section, I can have multiple services defined. If I open up my service, my bulletin board service, I can open up the designer, And that will show you a tier application which I have configured. So from the library out, I could drop and drag and easily transform this to a 3-tier service. I can drop and drag it, and I can have a 3-tier service. I can configure the 3rd tier, which I'm not going to save here. And this will enable me to configure that tier and have that tier deployed. So if I look at my 1st tier, which I'm going to cancel out here, then you can see the specifics of that server. Let me open this up again. And within that service template, I could easily configure, well, this can be done during deployment time. I can configure how such a service should behave. And one really important step here is that I can, on deployment time, I can define what kind of server role this is. And actually I can define it here, or I can utilize it through orchestrator, system center orchestrator, throughout automation to enable certain roles or certain features of that service definition. So this is how it looks. So let's step back to the slides one more time. So what I'm going to do is, with the help of Service Manager, System Center Service Manager, which is our System Center components for service management, we are going to actually utilize the self-service portal of Service Manager. We're going to initiate a service request, and then it will be picked up by System Center Orchestrator, and who is actually going to do the heavy lifting for me. System Center Orchestrator will talk against VMM, Virtual Machine Manager, and instructs VMM to deploy that service for me automatically. So now let's switch over to my demo environment again. And now I'm going to put on the hat of my application owner. This is System Center Service Manager and is recognizing me as my colleague. In this specific example, I'm Martin. And I'm going to request that service. So you can see that I have different service offerings available for me. And if I click on Private Cloud, I can go ahead and select my service to be deployed. So I'm going to click on the service, and it's shown me some help articles I can take a look at. And now I'm going to the request form. So what I'm seeing here is based on my permissions. What kind of permissions I have against the CMDB, what am I able to see. So I can only see one service, which is called my bulletin board service. If I had a different role, I could see multiple servers I could deploy. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to give this a name. So I'm going to call this the Finance Forum, and I'm going to give this URL. What we are seeing here is the same thing what we are doing with Azure is providing you a URL because this is a web-based application I can request. Let's call this, for sake of clarity, Finance Bulletin Board. Here we go. Based on my role, I can only select one single cloud. If I had different roles, I could select different clouds. And here you can see what my assigned capacity is. I'm going to click on the cloud, click on Next, and click on Submit. So now as a service owner, I've requested a new service to be deployed. Now if I switch my hat and put on the hat of the data center administrator, you can see that if I look under the covers, let me finalize this. So this is actually going to create a service request on the Service Manager backend. Okay, we've successfully submitted that. Now I'm going to switch my hat and put my hat on of the data center administrator. I'm going to switch to Service Manager. And if I hit refresh, or I don't have to hit refresh, we can see that a new service service request has been created. That was the one I just submitted. if I double click on the service request, I'm going to open it. You can see all the values I've filled in. Oh, let me cancel this out because this is a previous one. There we go. Open this up. And now you can see the finance bulletin board I just requested. What I can do within a service request, and this is the really strength part of it, that I can have my service request built upon different activities. I currently have added just one activity, which is going to deploy my service, but imagine that I can have all kinds of sequential or parallel activities included in this section, and that might be an approval section. So someone has to approve this type of activity. If I open this up, then you can see the really tight integration with the System Center suite. Namely, you can see the integration with System Center Orchestrator. If I want to look under the hood what the current status is of my runbook, I can click on View Associated Runbook, and that will bring me to Orchestrator, and then we can see an instance being initiated in progress, as you can see. And if I open up the details, you can see that Orchestrator runbook has started to run. So you can see that I have retrieved the relationship against the CMDB. So the user has filled all kinds of things within the service request. I have retrieved that relationship, and we have started to deploy a new service. So if I look at Virtual Machine Manager, you can see that a new job has been initiated, and we are currently creating a new service instance. Orchestrator is doing all the heavy lifting against Virtual Machine Manager and is deploying my service as we speak. So if we look at Hyper-V Manager, you can see that I have two different VMs which have spun up, and I'm going shortly to be provisioned. So let me connect to one VM, and this will come to life. So step back to the slides to show you where we are in the process. So I have now requested a new service out of a service definition. I have asked Orchestrator to deploy that for me, and what happens during the workflow are a couple of things. I have System Center Operations Manager who is starting to monitor my new service as we speak. So Virtual Machine Manager has signaled that a new service is being deployed. Operations Manager is starting to monitor that service for me. And if I have completed this, Data Protection Manager will protect that service and make a good backup of it. Orchestrator will also, and unfortunately I don't have the time to demonstrate it, we are enabling Hyper-V replica at the end, so I have a replica to a different side of that service. So we have Configuration Manager on the top as well to do some change and configuration management on that specific service. And to conclude, we have App Controller, which enables me as a service owner to be able to log on to that service, make perhaps changes to that service as a whole. And of course, we have integration with Windows Azure as well. As you saw in the self-service portal, the user could only select a cloud to deploy that service to. The user doesn't know whether that's going to be deployed on a private cloud or a cloud in Azure, a hybrid cloud scenario. So to finalize this demo, we're going to take a look just one time back to a service I've previously deployed. So let's take a look. This is still in progress. If we look at Operations Manager, you can see that Operations Manager is monitoring my Finance Cloud. And you can see here on the bottom side that Operations Manager is monitoring my capacity, my availability of that specific cloud. If I open up the Finance Cloud, and I can dive into the diagram view, you can see that, oops, open up the diagram view. You can see my cloud as an instance, and you can see that my finance bulletin board is being monitored. You can see if I drill down that I have two VMs consisting of that service, and and you can see that the service popping up. And if I drill down just a second below here, I can dive even further and look at the application. And this is actually a virtual AppV server applications which we are starting to monitor. Martin has also received a confirmation email. So if we look at the confirmation of the service request, you can see a confirmation email that a service has been deployed successfully, and we can provide a hyperlink as well, so he can immediately start using that service. And if you click on it, you see that we have a live bulletin board running at that machine. And to conclude the demo, this is App Controller. So out of a self-service point of view, I can see my clouds over here. And this is the finance cloud I can take a look at. And you can see that the service is also available for Martin to log on. So if I click on this service, you can see the multi-tier service being deployed as defined in my template. And this is actually what you can do today, and this is the way to transform your data center into a private cloud.
No, that's not impressive.
Thank you.
Before I pass it over to Eduardo, please don't leave. Out of respect for him, I want you to see this. We're going to run all the way to 3:15 exactly, like the schedule, maybe a minute long, but just stay with us, please, I beg of you. Listen, did you see him redefine the whole template in Config Manager? No. DPM, Ops Manager, Config Manager, Service Manager. Now you see the point? How many times did he define the template? Once. How many times did he deploy it? Once. That's the value of this. That's the value of this. With that said, it is an absolute pleasure and an honor to have Eduardo Rothschild from Brazil here to talk to us about what he did in his environment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chandler. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm Eduardo Rothschild. I'm the Wintel manager for Abril Comunicações. A little bit about our group. Editora Abril was founded in 1950, and Eduardo left me a killer joke. Our first publication was Donald Duck. Today we have over 9,000 employees, have a net revenue last year of $1.7 billion. 9,000 employees, and we are one of the most influential media groups in South America. 29 million readers. It's a lot of magazines. 192 million copies last year. Actually, 2012, last year, that's it. 48,000 pages of paid advertisement. So it's a huge company. We have the third largest media printed magazine in the world. We have Time magazine, we have Newsweek magazine, and Veja, our main magazine, is the third largest weekly magazine in the world. A problem with that is we have a very mixed scenario. We have a very heterogeneous scenario. We have outsourcing for data center, we have outsourcing for service desk and field services, and we have outsourcing for networking. 3 different companies and a set of over 10 different tools to manage it. So, one of the biggest problems, inconsistency. Multiple tools to do the same job. Each company has its own tool set. We have a high licensing costs. I need to buy licenses from each company to do its own jobs. I have up to 80% of clients missing updates. That was really crazy. What are our challenges with System Center 2012 Service Pack 1? Single point of data. We have multiple tools. We want a single tool to have a truth. We want to reduce software costs. We want to have on-demand reports. We want faster software delivery, and we have a very heterogeneous environment. How heterogeneous? We have Macs, we have PCs, we have Linux servers, we have Windows servers, we have HP UX servers, everything managed by System Center 2012. Abril decided to buy its own toolset. We bought System Center 2012, and we integrated it with HP SM9 using Orchestrator, and we integrated with Sonda to use its Moebius again with Orchestrator. What are our results? The best part of it, the results. We reduced $2.8 million in licensing costs in 3 years. That's huge. We automated software deployment for Macs and for Windows. We automated inventory and asset management for all platforms, and we also automate change management processes with Orchestrator. We deployed a self-service portal so the user can request its services through web, through its own machine. We integrated ERP, and that's another killer joke, with System Center Service Manager through Orchestrator to do chargeback. We do use chargeback, and I'm the bad guy. Service Manager is used as a single point of service. We integrated all the components. All the components are changing, are synchronizing information, and then Service Manager is our only single point of truth. All reports come out of System Center Service Manager, and then using the Service Manager data warehouse, we can do reports on demand. I just publish the report services, and then we can have reports on demand. For chargeback, for software licensing, for inventory management, all of that coming from Service Manager data warehousing. And 99.82 clients up to date with security patches and application updates, even our own applications. That was huge. That was accomplished in less than a year since we bought the whole suite. That's about it. If someone wants to talk to me and know a little bit more about the group, there are those links. Thank you, Eduardo, for sharing my story.
Oh, the other way around.
It was a great opportunity.
He flew 24 hours to tell us an amazing story. So double applause to this man, what he did, man. Thank you. Guys, we are going to be on time because you know what? You know the summary. We've been speaking about it the whole time, okay? No more torture for you. Listen, what we try to do today was super simple. Tell you what we've seen in the market, right? Give you some good pointers. This is what we've seen people be successful. It doesn't mean it's the only way that you can be successful. It's just good pointers, good ideas. Give you a little bit of the taste of how we can help you as Microsoft actually achieve this and show you people that are doing it, right? And that have done it right now with heterogeneous environments, not drinking the Microsoft Kool-Aid, actually doing it and being super successful. Thank you for your time. We're honored that you're here. Thank you for the time investment.